Alright everybody, how we doing today? Good, good. Alright everybody, time for more commentary on what I am officially dubbing Cold War II. Because ladies and gentlemen, thanks to Trump pulling us out of the INF treaty, we now have a new arms race. Don't believe me? Just watch. So this is from Reuters, verified source, and it says, Russia flies nuclear-capable bombers to region facing Alaska. This is a report live from Moscow, and later uploaded as an article. It says, Russia said on Wednesday it had flown two nuclear-capable Tu-160 bombers to a far eastern Russian region opposite Alaska as part of a training exercise that state media said showed Moscow's ability to park nuclear arms on the United States doorstep. And here begins the nuclear saber rattling. Let's just hope it doesn't add up to anything significant. The Tupolev Tu-160 strategic bomber, nicknamed the White Swan in Russia, is a supersonic Soviet-era aircraft capable of carrying up to 12 short-range nuclear missiles and of flying 12,000 kilometers, or 7,500 miles, non-stop without refueling. Russia's Ministry of Defense said in a statement that the planes had covered a distance of more than 6,000 kilometers, or 3,728 miles, in over 8 hours from their home base in western Russia to deploy in Anadyr in the Chukotka region, which faces Alaska. The flight was part of a tactical exercise that would last until the end of this week, it said, and was designed to rehearse the Air Force's ability to rebase to operational airfields and to practice air-to-air refueling. Footage released by the Defense Ministry showed the planes taking off in darkness and landing in daylight at an airfield set in mid-flat grassy terrain in the Russian Far East. The flight comes amid heightened tensions over arms control between Moscow and Washington. The United States withdrew from a landmark nuclear missile pact with Russia this month after determining that Moscow is violating that treaty, an accusation that Kremlin denied. Now, see, I would say we could counter this by placing some planes of our own near Turkey, but since Turkey's been alienated by Trump's policies concerning the F-35, well, there you go. Yeah. He wanted, obviously, the INF Treaty to be removed so he could start posturing and other sorts of military maneuvering within the Far East and Middle East with impunity. However, that seems to have backfired and thus creating this new arms race. So good job, Mr. Trump. Wonderful. Can't wait to see how this one ends. The U.S. ambassador to Moscow said earlier on Wednesday that another arms treaty, the last major nuclear pact between Russia and the United States, was outdated and flawed and could be scrapped when it expires in 2021 and replaced with something else. And on Tuesday, the Kremlin boasted that it was winning the race to develop new cutting-edge nuclear weapons despite a mysterious rocket accident last week in northern Russia that killed at least 5 people and caused a brief spike in radiation levels. Yeah, and remember that Putin basically treated that rocket accident like it was no big deal. Running a little damage control with your reputation there, Mr. Putin. 20 minutes from Alaska. Russian government newspaper Rossiyskaya Gazeta said on its website on Wednesday that the Tu-160's flight showed Moscow's ability to base nuclear bombs within 20 minutes flight time from U.S. territory. The distance from Anadyr to Alaska is less than 600 kilometers, or 372 miles. For the Tu-160, that takes 20 minutes, including takeoff and gaining altitude, it said. Moreover, the capabilities of the missiles which the plane carries would allow it to launch them without leaving Russian airspace. If necessary, the bomber's first target would be at radar stations and the position of interceptor missiles, which are part of the U.S. missile defense system. Tu-160s, codenamed Blackjacks by NATO, have flown in the past from bases in Russia to Syria, where they have bombed forces opposed to President Bashar al-Assad, one of Moscow's closest Middle East allies. The Defense Ministry said a total of around 10 Tu-160 bombers and Tu-95MS and IL-78 planes were involved in the exercise, suggesting it covered other areas as well. So, what we're looking at here is the fact that Russia can in fact maneuver almost anywhere in the world. Shout out to Wacky Christian Guy who was in my comments a few months ago talking about how Daniel chapter 8 supposedly explained how America really was going to go to war with Iran, saying that only America can go all the way around the world without refueling. Well, apparently Russia can do it too. So is Russia going to go to war with Iran? Is Russia in Daniel chapter 8? Yeah, wacky conspiracy theorists and wacky Christian conspirators. These people are amazing sometimes, I'm telling you. Amazing. But anyway, needless to say, this really, I'm hoping, is just some saber rattling, some posturing, and it's not going to lead to anything really significant, hopefully. So you'd better hope that I'm right, because it's not going to be good if I'm wrong. Russia is in the process of modernizing the Tu-160. President Vladimir Putin last year praised the upgraded version after watching it in flight, saying it would beef up Russia's nuclear weapons capability. 10 of the modernized Tu-160M nuclear bombers are due to be delivered to the Russian Air Force at a cost of 15 billion rubles, or $227 million, each between now and 2027. Tupolev, the plane's manufacturer, says the modernized version will be 60% more effective than the older version, with significant improvements to its weaponry, navigation, and avionics. A similar flight was made a year ago to Anadyr, where state media say the local airfield has been modernized to be able to receive bigger planes like the Tu-160. You know, if a game developer or a studio wanted to make a bunch of flight simulator games, avionics would make a really good name, you know? It's got a certain ring to it, it's sort of catchy. But on a more serious note, best case scenario, this new arms race gets really ridiculous, and then they finally agree on a new INF treaty, which is probably what Trump was planning anyway. Worst case scenario, this turns into more of a real Cold War comparison, and Cold War II begins. And then, before you know it, we'll be in a situation that we'll never know for certain when and where it'll really end. And we'll have decades and decades of fear and uncertainty like we did once before, the last time something like this happened. So, Mr. Trump, if you're watching or listening, I hope you can appreciate the rather horrifying can of worms you've managed to open by pulling us out of the INF treaty. Good job, jackass. Anyway.